Let's see here. We are talking about, what the heck? We are talking about distribution. And we had talked about the theory of distribution, where you've got this value chain and you have the process of getting stuff from where it originates to where it's manufactured to the people who actually buy it. And we talked about there's all kinds of things that have to happen in order for the product to get from point A to point B, one of which is the movement of the physical product, which we talked about with logistics, is the actual materials handling. And the rest of it is digital information that needs to happen in order to support the movement of goods from point A to point B. And then we talked a little bit about some of the intermediaries that make a channel more efficient with them than without it. Spent some time talking about wholesalers and just talking about some of the functions that wholesalers do. And when we did that, I had teased that we are going to talk about retailing because that's like a major intermediary. And true to my word, that's what we're going to talk about today. Oh, the response is amazing here. So what the heck is retailing? If I was to put a multiple choice question on a test, I might have something like this. Retailing is the process of selling goods and services for individuals or households for their personal use. In other words, people who are buying stuff for their personal use, that's where they get it from. Retailers can't sell to businesses because businesses don't use things for their personal use. Why am I spending a whole session on retailing? A couple of reasons. One, it's a significant chunk of the economy. We had talked before about business marketing is a major part of the economy. GDP is around 12 trillion, and about a third of that is retailing. The rest of that is B2B. So a good chunk of our economy depends on retailing. On a more personal level, retailing hires a lot. Does anybody work in retail right now? Okay. I don't know of anybody who's not going to work retail at some point in their career. I had many retail positions. And I am so glad to have the job that I have now. Oh, dear. So one of the characteristics of retailing in this country is it's a concentrated market. What do we mean when we say concentrated? And say again? The small number of companies dominate a large part of the market. And for example, in grocery, 50 stores, 50 chains control 70% of the market. What does that tell us as marketers? Bueller? So as a marketer, I told you that 70% of your market is in a handful of firms. What would that mean to you as a marketer? What would your strategy be? I would, go after that 70% because that's where the money is. And that's mostly right. Because if you went after that 70%, you're ignoring 30% of the market. And that's not a smart move either. And what that really means is if you want to work through retailers, you've really got to have a two-pronged strategy. One is you need to play with the big boys, the big people, sorry, so that the approach that you would make to an outfit like Walmart or to Safeway is a lot different than the approach that you would make to a smaller store. Sometimes we call that getting customers wholesale and getting customers retail. Is if you're going after Walmart, I make one sale and I've got millions of dollars worth of business. If I'm working with the smaller retailers, I make one sale, I've got $5,000 worth of business. I got to make a lot of sales to make up for that Walmart, so it's a lot more expensive getting business in the smaller retail outlets than it is in the larger retail outlets, and as a result, retail outlets have to charge higher prices to their customers because it's more expensive for them to operate than it is for a Walmart. Another interesting thing about retailing is margins in retailing tend to be low. We had talked earlier about a keystone or 100% markup as being a benchmark for retail pricing. The average operating margin in retail is around 27%, and net margin is 2.7%. Is anybody here getting excited over a 2.7% return on investment? Tell you what, I got a great idea. Give me $1 million, and I'll return 3%. So nobody's really excited around 3. Good, because you're business majors. 3%, that's chicken feed. I want to double my money in a week. So why is retail such a hot area? Why are so many businesses going into retail if the margins aren't all that great? The response here is tremendous. Not everybody at once. Anybody? Bueller? Smoot Hawley? So what's going on? Anybody work in retail?
I'm about to.
You're about to. Managerial or?
Well, at a coffee shop.
At a coffee shop?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I don't know coffee shops well enough to use that analogy. If you were working in a restaurant, I could make it work, but I can't make it work in a coffee shop.
I work in a restaurant.
You work where?
Woodhouse Fish Company.
At who?
Woodhouse Fish Company. It's a restaurant over in Packard.
You work at a restaurant, okay. And so what is are you a server?
I'm a hostess right now. But
You're a hostess someday. So what is the key to success in the restaurant business?
well, I mean, like good customer service.
Good customer service and all that, right? And how many customers can you serve in an hour?
A lot.
A lot? And so in restaurants it's table turn, right?
Right.
Is you want to turn over those tables so that I can serve each table 6 or 8 times during a meal. In retail, the same thing applies, is I've got a 2.7% return on investment, but if I turn my inventory over every week, then I've got a 2.7% return on my investment times 52. Now do I have your attention? Okay, and that's, again, one of the key issues in retail is inventory turnover. So they sometimes call that retail velocity, is how fast you can turn your industry. And because, like a grocery store has such high turnover, it maybe goes through all of its inventory in a week. I can have very low margins, offer very low prices, and still generate a good return for my investors.